Hi, hope you're doing super well. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the warrior archetype. So it's part of the journey of Jung's 12 different archetypes. I did do a video introduction about that journey of all 12 of them. It's like an overview. You can watch it if you want. I've already done the innocent and the orphan, and I am at the warrior. I think that the first thing to say about the warrior is that it's part of the four basic archetypes of our psyche. So the innocent and the orphan represent sort of the inexperienced childlike energy within us. And then the warrior is the masculine energy, and the caregiver, which follows it, the fourth archetype, is the feminine energy. They're pretty basic. They kind of represent the family unity, right? Father, mother, child. And so they do really need to be healthy. I believe that these four archetypes absolutely need to be healthy in order to have a healthy life. Then if you continue growing through the other archetypes, that's wonderful. But if one of these four are not dealt with, you could say, or not expressed in a light way, in a healthy way, you might have trouble. So that's the first thing I want to say about the warrior archetype. So first I want to kind of just explore what the warrior archetype is, and then I want to kind of show you like what it's like when someone has a warrior archetype that's overexpressed or underexpressed and how to bring it back to balance. I think that's just interesting, right? So let's start with just what the warrior is. To put it in context, you're coming out of the orphan phase, right? The orphan, which is a very difficult phase. It's all our childhood wounds and trauma. It's when we realize that the world is not just safe all the time and beautiful all the time, and there are sins and difficulties and weaknesses and faults, and it's terrible. That's wonderful, a wonderful space to be in. But what the orphan gives you as a gift, right? The orphan's gift is that you're able to find some sort of family, a place where you belong. So that can be with people, it can be an institution, it can be a value within yourself. It really depends. But there is something you're going to attach yourself to that's going to be like, this is where I belong, this is my safe place. So you could say that with the orphan, the goal here is that your birth castle, the castle that was constructed by your family, you could say, has been tainted, or you realize that it isn't yours. It's not your home, it's not your house, it's your parents' house, it's your parents' home. So as the orphan, you build your own. You build your own home. That's yours. And hopefully not tainted, not disgusting, not with a really weak base or structure, right? So you could say that you created a kingdom. Well then, in kingdoms, there are often valuable things like royalty and treasure and other things. So within that kingdom, within your home that you've constructed, you've put everything you care about, be it people or something or values or whatever. The warrior archetype is the fortress that you build around it. So any kingdom has a fortress. Any kingdom has an army with soldiers to make sure that it attacks and defends the kingdom. And that's really like the two different functions of the warrior archetype. The first one is the army going out of the kingdom. The goal is to attack. But you can also see it as one of the two masculine or manly functions, which is to provide, right? So you go out of the kingdom, you make sure you provide for it, you make sure you attack. And then the other function is defending, but also with the masculine function, it's protecting, right? And I say masculine, it is a thing. Like masculine energy lives within men and women, that's for sure. But these masculine energies, they're mostly in men, and it's because of hormones. Men usually have more testosterone, so they're more masculine, and women have more estrogen, so they're more feminine. Often men are the warrior in the family, and women are the caregiver. That's just been the way because of hormones. But not every man and every woman will fit these roles. That's why there's a difference between sex and gender. But whatever, that's not the case here. I shouldn't be talking about that. So yes, the warrior is the male role of our psyche, the basic masculine role of our psyche to provide and protect. And we absolutely need it to be healthy if we want our kingdom to thrive and be happy and not destroyed, right? Because these two functions are different. Some people are going to be really good at providing, attacking, right? Which is great, but they're being attacked. They have weak defenses, so they keep being like, people come in their kingdom, take whatever they want, etc. Or the opposite, you're really good at defending, which is great. All right, everything's intact in your castle, in your kingdom, but then you never go out. So you lack resources, you lack things, you never get what you want, and the kingdom does not expand. That's the dual function of the warrior archetype. So that's like, okay, that's a big metaphor. Yes, I'm wearing pajama pants. I'm at home. I want to do whatever I want. Yes, so, yes. What was I saying? I get sidetracked very easily. If you want to put it in more like psychological terms, right? As a psychological function, the goal of the warrior is to, you identifying what you want, I think, is more of an orphan thing. The orphan helps you figure out what you want in a way. Every archetype wants something different, but this is more about like the basic needs. What do I absolutely need in my life to be happy and fulfilled? That's the orphan, I believe, identifying that. But the warrior is, are you going to do what's needed to go and get it? It could be anything. It could be a job. It could be, in times of COVID, it could be toilet paper, right? You need that toilet paper and you want to make sure that your castle has it. So you need to go out and attack and provide for your kingdom and make sure you're the one that has a toilet paper. That's a warrior thing. It can be very small things or very big things, like this is the person I love and I'm going to be sure that I'm getting that person, obviously, if that person likes me too. But that's what it serves. And then it's all about boundaries. It's about saying no. It's about saying, I mean, you're going into my kingdom. I didn't invite you here. You're destroying what's within my kingdom. I'm not okay with that. Get out of it. Like, go out of this place that is mine, right? This is the defense type of thing. And it is a masculine function. I know a lot of women who have a very difficult time with warriors, the warrior archetype within us. I know myself, I'm included in that. So you could say that the warrior is a tool. It's a tool just like money would be a tool. Money in itself is never good or bad. It's the way it's being used and for what it's being used that makes it good or bad in a way. So the warrior archetype is the same thing. It's all about weapons. It's all about strategy, right? What a warrior needs are these things like you need to be strong and you need to have courage and resilience and you need to be very determined, and you need to be sure of what you want and you need to be sure of how you're going to get it. You need strategy, you need intelligence, etc. It's really like a weapon. The way you wield it will say if it's bad or wrong. And I'm saying this because in our society, I think that a lot of people view the warrior archetype in a very negative light because of this war on toxic masculinity, right? And I think it's good to go into that right now. So the warrior archetype, since it's a tool, when it's being used for good, it's like the light aspect of the archetype. And when it's being used for bad things, well, it's the shadow side. So with the light archetype, what makes it that you're using your warrior in a way that's light and not shadow? And I think that's a kind of tricky question. But I think it kind of comes down to this. If you want something, you go and get it. And if it ends up not causing suffering or pain to anyone else or you shouldn't also have any pain or suffering, right? It's all about the consequences of the way you use your warrior. If the consequences are neutral or good, you do it. If they're bad, you don't do it. It's as simple as that, right? And I think that a lot of women might have an underexpressed warrior archetype because of that. It's like assertiveness becomes, in our eyes, aggression, and so it feels wrong to be assertive and it feels wrong to say no, whereas it isn't. Since women are more caregiver, they're very much attuned to how their decisions are going to impact other people. And so if it's going to cause just a bit of sadness, which is not pain and suffering, it's disappointment or a bit of sadness, it's like, oh my God, this is wrong. And so I think that that's why a lot of women may have a difficult time with the warrior archetype. But anyway. So it's really about how you use your weapon, what type of kingdom you're creating, right? And you have to respect other kingdoms too, ideally, right? So the integrity of other people needs to be respected in a way. And I think that a good question to ask yourself is, am I protecting weaknesses, whether in me or in the people I love, or am I seeking to profit from these weaknesses? That could be like, but I think this is more moral. The fact that some people are weak that's not really your fault. And profiting off of weakness. I'm entering a gray area. It's not good. I just think that to have a light expression of the warrior archetype is to live with integrity and honor and respect, and to make sure that you're creating a better world for yourself and your loved ones, and ideally not creating a worse world for strangers, right? Because, I mean, we have to understand that, our goal is not to make everyone happy. Our goal is to make ourselves and the people we love happy, not strangers happy, because then that might conflict with us, But if you're not causing pain and suffering for strangers, you're good. The goal is like, okay, you're not making them happy, but you're also not making them miserable. And it's really just about that. There's nothing wrong with getting what you want. And the warrior archetype, really, to be able to function well, there has to be no fear. And that's what makes a hero or soldier or a knight or a king strong. It's that even though there is fear, let's say there is courage, and you still go after what you want, and you do what's necessary to provide and protect, even if it's scary. That's how you know if your warrior is healthy in a way. The way to really get to a higher level of the warrior archetype, to a higher level of functioning with this, is that instead of attacking in your head, of seeing enemies as being external, like a group of people, a person, it's better to see enemies as something that's internal, an emotion like fear or a certain value, something like that, right? You go to war on these energies that live within everyone, making sure that it's not alive within you, and making sure that it's not going to be alive in the people around you. And that's going to create less war. And I think that our society has kind of begun using that. Our society is expressing a healthier side of the soldier or the warrior. It's not using world war anymore. I mean, we don't know where it can go, but in general, I think we're trying to use it in a more evolved way, by talking, compromising, by identifying internal enemies like prejudice or racism, etc., misogyny, things like that, right? We're more focused on fighting these things that live within every human being with education and understanding, instead of simply like seeing a group of people as an enemy. That can also help you in having a healthier warrior. So let's go back to it as a psychological function. So if you're expressing the warrior archetype, you are usually somewhat happy. You're able to get what you want, and you're able to say no and put up boundaries. You're not being taken advantage of. You're not being bullied. You're not being used, manipulated. And you don't constantly fear getting what you want, or you don't self-sabotage. If you want something, you'll do what's needed to get it. And that's very healthy. And often the way to have a balanced, healthily expressed warrior is to make sure that the four main archetypes, right, the innocent and the orphan and the caregiver, they're all healthy. So there's a part of you also that's not just the warrior. You also have dreams and hopes of your child within, but you also have an understanding of what's important and what's unacceptable or acceptable, and that you're worthy, and that the world isn't like full-blown safe. There are going to be enemies, right? Mostly within. Thanks to the orphan, and then you use the warrior, and then you also have the caregiver. And the caregiver really greatly balances the warrior. And it's important to have both energies within us, not just masculine, not just feminine, depending on our sexes. We have to nurture both. And the caregiver helps us be more attuned to other people's needs. Sometimes it's not about what we want, it's about what the other person wants, and that's great, and it balances us out and makes us more mature, and in general, rounded, well-rounded. So that's expressed in a healthy way. You just go and get what you want. Now, if it's overexpressed, it's really people who are incredibly controlling, and they always want to get exactly what they want, no matter what. No matter if it's going to hurt people, no matter if it's important or not. It's not about their needs, just about their tiny whims and wants. They can be incredibly disagreeable. They can invade your boundaries. They can be super angry, because there is something about the warrior that is about drive and energy and exertion and anger and erotic energy too, right? It's very like gut-like. the warrior archetype. So someone who overexpresses it might need a lot of exertion, a lot of physical exertion, feel like they're constantly fighting, feel like there are enemies everywhere. Everyone is an enemy, everything they say, even your loved ones. Constantly being the mindset of warrior means you're constantly at war, being with yourself or other people, and it's incredibly tiring. So it's better if they're able to balance it with the other archetypes, as I said earlier. And then the opposite, underexpressed. I know myself, I have an underexpressed archetype. It can be kind of a lack of drive, like you don't go necessarily after what you want, and you're not really good at saying no and putting boundaries. And for the past few years, that's what I've been really focusing on, having a healthier warrior, making sure that I love myself enough, right? Because the warrior is a tool of self-love and self-respect, and it's a tool for happiness and fulfillment. So you absolutely need to use it, but you need to believe at first that you're worth it, which is difficult. And I find it really funny because my mom told me when I was really, really young, I think it's always been a problem with me to not have the warrior archetype. When I was really, really young, I was at the park and there were strange kids, like kids I didn't know, stranger kids, whatever, kids I didn't know around me. And I would just give my toys away to them. And then I'd get home and I would cry and I would say to my mom, I don't want to give my my toys to the kids. And she'd be like, well, don't. Like, they're your toys. You can just keep them. Don't give them away. And every time we went back to the park, I would just like give away my toys. So that's very interesting. I was super young. Or at preschool, for example, my mom always saw like the drawings I made there, they were always brown. And so she asked the teacher, like, why is my kid's drawing always brown? And the teacher would say, well, that's because she waits until everyone's taken like their favorite pens. And then she goes. So she always has the brown pen. And so that's like, I think there's a part of it that's somehow genetics. Our relationship with archetypes, sometimes we're just not wired to be a certain way, and it's up to us to develop that, even if it's difficult and counterintuitive. And so, yes, I'm a woman. Yes, I have a lot of caregiver in me. I have other archetypes that are further too. And it is important to have some sort of assertiveness training with the warrior, because really, truly, without it, you are not going to be happy. You're just going to make yourself miserable. So to develop a healthier relationship with like this assertiveness that's not necessarily aggression is important. And I think that's it. Do I want to say anything else? I mean, it's been 19 minutes, so I guess no. Yeah, I think I want to do like a little recap. Do you want to do a recap? Let's do a recap. So the goal and purpose is to protect the castle kingdom, to further what's inside, to expand, to win, and also to protect what's inside from what's outside. And in a way, also what's inside, right? As I said, the enemies can be external, but they can be internal too. To have it, while the obstacles and challenges, war, battle, enemies and demons, competition, claiming power and identity, you need to think of that part of yourself as a weapon. And so how can you be the best weapon possible to get what you want without hurting other people? That's really the little dilemma here that you have to solve. The qualities and the resources that the archetype needs. So there's strength and courage and skill and determination and honor and will and assertiveness and clarity. And the weaknesses is that it really doesn't want to doubt or fear or be vulnerable or be weak. So yes, once again, if it's not balanced with the orphan, that's like, hey, everyone's wounded, everyone's vulnerable, and the caregiver, which is let me heal you, let me heal me in a way. If you don't have those that balance you out, you'll become an imbalanced warrior, a shadow warrior. Scary. The relationships, yes, with the innocent for the beliefs, the dreams, faith and hope. Also a relationship with the orphan for perspective and wisdom and realism and understanding what's important. And a relationship with the caregiver, which is about values, love, relationships, empathy, and self-sacrifice. And so in society, it's the masculine energy. You need to balance it with feminine energy. And you need also to find higher levels of wars and weapons. So things that won't slice people up, that would be the best way. Debate is good, but whatever. Overexpressed people always constantly sees enemies without everyone around them. It's always enemies, it's always war. Underexpressed, very sweet, very self-effacing, kind of unmotivated, lazy, very difficult to get what you want, very difficult to say no, you're being abused, you're being, etc. It's really not fun either to be underexpressed. Instead of destroying other people, you destroy yourself. And then the highest level is to understand that the warrior should really be geared toward the enemies that live within every human. Enemies within, things that are higher than what's represented by a group. So it's not these people that are the enemies, it's what they represent, i.e. prejudice, racism, misogyny. I don't know why those three things keep coming up in my head, but whatever. And that is it. You know, in 22 minutes, that was very long. I make really long videos, but I love talking about these things and I want it to be as clear and as like thorough as I can make it. So what can I say? Anyways, it's my channel. I can post whatever I want, even things that I know no one wants to watch. It's just fun. I love it. It allows me to be a better speaker too. It's really helped me in my life too. I'm better at like just saying things. Before I couldn't talk, which was really funny, like I was really bad at talking, but now I'm really good. Isn't that fun for you to know? So, I'm not gonna drink right now. On that note, I want to say thank you for watching. And once again, if you're watching till the end, you're kind of amazing. It's really nice. I appreciate it. And, you know, I wish you, as usual, so much love and so much happiness, and to have a very healthy warrior within you that fights for you and what you need and defends your integrity. Everyone deserves that, absolutely everyone. So work on that if that's not a reality for you. Okay, have a great week. Thanks for watching.